Morning. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to our Natural Health News live show. It's Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. For all of you watching on the replay, we're celebrating Friday, May 8th. And I am wishing we were back in Key West. It is quite chilly here in Atlanta. It got down to like 47. It's going to be in 37 tonight. So we're having some weird Arctic blast going south. So welcome. Anyway, all of you, I'm Dr. Melisa Gallagher. I'm a naturopathic physician. And every morning now for almost 9 weeks, I have been hosting a Natural Health News live show specifically related to news and information about the pandemic, COVID-19 coronavirus as it impacts the entire world. I'm sharing new news, information, and resources that can help you and your families be healthier and safer at home, or if you are starting to open up, your states and cities are reopening. These are also resourceful tips. So welcome all of you. This morning, today's live show, after we go over the news, this is a call to a live Q&A. So if you have any health and wellness questions, when we get to that, I will be answering them live. I did a quick poll this morning on YouTube and have several questions that we'll be going over. So a lot of these probably will relate to many of you who are concerned about your health and wellness. And so let's dig into this morning's show. So just so any of you know, if you are new joining, I hope you'll follow and subscribe here at Natural Health Resources. This particular show, especially for all of you on the replay on YouTube and even on Instagram, this is live on Instagram, and a live story will be up for just 24 hours. On YouTube, it lives forever until I or YouTube take it down. And this replay, friends, this is a live show. So I engage with a live chat. On the replay, you can actually see the live chat, so you can be a part of it. But most importantly, this is an engaging, interactive live show. And the topics are very much driven by the community members who join me on the live. And we have anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 individuals who join me live every morning throughout the course of about 60 to 110, 120 minutes. So every show varies. This show will be less than an hour. And let's dig into some news. So the world right now is at 3.8 million cases. The US is at 1.289 million cases. Some of the states that are kind of still in the super, super high range, New York is at 327, and it's 327,000. New Jersey, 133,000. Massachusetts is creeping up. They're at 73,000. Illinois is at, they surpassed 70,000. They're at 70,873 cases. So we're going to be watching Illinois. Anybody from Illinois? Oh, I see Sue S. is from Illinois. So, the reopening might be a little bit slower up there, dependent on how the community chooses to address the incline of cases. California surpassed 60. They're at 61,139. And I have some news about California that I'll share this morning. Pennsylvania, we want to be watching them. They're at 52,915. And then Michigan's at 45,000. I always watch Florida and Georgia. Florida's at 38,000, and we'll probably see them hit 40,000, I would say probably by Sunday. And Texas is at 35, and Georgia is over just at 30,000. So the jobless news is kind of the big topic, leading topic. That is a major concern. We have now the total job losses for just April, and it's at 20.5 million jobs have been lost due to the pandemic and the closing of businesses and staying at home orders. That puts us, at least for these 4 weeks in April, at 14.7% of an unemployment rate. That does not include this week, and it does not include March as well. So that's just for April. I want to highlight for California, I've been highlighting a little bit more about how we're assessing, we will see more news about where the origin of the virus is here in the US, like where were some of the first cases, the community spread, like when did it begin to be a community spread versus a direct, there's direct contact and then there's the indirect community spread. And California has actually identified where their first community spread case is, and that's current data. This is based on contact tracing. It's also based on some of the genetic mutation testing that I reported yesterday. And for any of you who want to catch any of the news shows, I have a whole entire playlist of these. And I think we have like 58 or 59 videos. So I've been doing a video every day except for Easter. And I'm not, for all of you who want to join me this weekend, Sunday, I'm taking Mother's Day off. So California, the first community spread case, identifies an individual in February in Solano County. The first community spread happened in a nail salon. And that's really telling. Okay, so Georgia, many of you know, I'm based in Georgia. We're in the northern part of metro Atlanta, the base of the foothills. And our nail salons, our massage facilities, our tattoo parlors, even our gyms are open. Movie theaters, restaurants are open. And now I'm getting messages from my dentist office is opening, my med spa is opening on Monday. And then also we're seeing retail. One of the boutiques is reopening. So what this tells us, the nail salon, that's an enclosed space, potentially poorly ventilated, especially in California, whether they have, a facility that has air conditioning. But either way, that is where the community spread happened. So when we start to think about our reopening, we want to start to assess where some of the sources of community spread were. They're in small enclosed spaces, and most nail salons are really a lot smaller. Plus you're in somebody is touching your hands. And also the other factor is when you're getting your nails done, depending on what type of nail application you're getting, if it's just, paint and polish, buffing, whatever, or if it's, acrylics or even the gel nails, it's a little bit longer time frame that you're going to be around somebody. And so it becomes really important that these facilities have some guideline and strict policies with the reopening, that they are protecting the employees, but also protecting the customers. So these are going to be things you want to look for instance, in a nail salon or massage facility. You just don't want a mask. You want eye protection, and even where they would be wearing the cover, especially when there's going to be a lot of, face-to-face, really close contact, less than a foot. And so, when you have your nails there, the other person is literally right here. So they would be closer than my cameras. And that over a period of 30, 40 minutes, depending on how long you get your nails done. I don't get my nails done that frequently. I've only had to do it for photo shoots and things like that. But I tend not to like those places because I don't always feel like they're the most clean in terms of the disinfecting process already. And then we add this extra element. But it's just one of these things we have to start to think about some of these places. If we are going to go and frequent them, you may want to call ahead. You might want to find out what type of protective gear they're wearing, because right now, a lot of businesses are on hold with the procedures and processes with the CDC being held back by the federal government. The CDC has these guidelines that they're going to issue to businesses. It was supposed to be released on the 1st, and it is on hold. And a lot of businesses rely on that guidance. They're the de facto resource for any health crisis. So I put that out there because nail salon, it just gave me the cringe because Georgia is open. And I know that there are probably a lot of people I know who are starting to frequent those places. And I'm concerned about that for them. I'm concerned about the safety for the workers and also the businesses for them to survive. There's still potential liability if you are an owner and your services potentially are a place where they're spread. Okay, so I also want to share, this is really, I think a week and a half ago, I reported, or maybe a week ago, I did the video about UV. UV, they're in science, clinical labs, they're seeing that UV light when applied on the virus droplets, 30 seconds, it can kill the virus. And that video, it's the UV lights. I also reference the UV air filtration process that we use. And I know several of you who have messaged me, you've purchased those. They're wonderful units. I highlighted in that video that Hong Kong was testing out a trial UV robot to go in and clean bathrooms and kind of collective gathering areas. So fast forward to yesterday, there is a UV cleaning robot that is being tested out. This is what it looks like. This is being tested out in Pittsburgh Airport. So Pittsburgh International Airport is our tester airport, and they are using this to clean the floor. So this is a UV floor cleaner. The lights are underneath this, and it's slowly passing by to minimize the droplets. This is not air focused. I don't know if we're going to see a little bit more, but I think you guys can see, I don't know if you can see that blue, that's the light, that's the UV. So that blue light, that's the actual UV. So they started this on yesterday, so May 7th, and they have UVC. So they put the UVC wands, the UVC fixtures on the floor cleaning robots. And this is the first airport to test the use of ultraviolet rays to scrub the coronavirus from surfaces. And if it's effective, so this again is a tester, if it's effective, this could be a model for other airports as they plan to reopen and obviously persuade people to feel comfortable. Now, let's fast forward to schools. Are we maybe going to see schools having this? Are we going to see businesses? Are we going to see restaurants? Are we going to see, our cafeterias, our gyms? So this is exciting. I'm excited to see this launch and be tested. So as I read more information, I'll report to you where we're at with that. I had a message. I messaged back and forth this morning with one of my assistants. I have a virtual assistant who lives in the Philippines, and she was freaking out today. She said, I'm not going to be able to do any work. I have to go to the grocery store. We're going into lockdown again. So the Philippines is going into a lockdown for at least a week or 2 weeks to sanitize and to disinfect and to really they've had a few increases in cases, and the country is responding as such. Australia is opening up they rolled out a 3-step reopening plan. And this is a very thorough, very strategic, very methodical process. So that is the country's way of starting to look at opening up. I have more information about the children's, the effect of coronavirus and COVID-19 on children. Earlier this week, I reported about the unique syndrome, an inflammatory related state, and almost like a toxic shock Kawasaki syndrome with children. And they've since this week they've identified, they've given a name to this condition, and they're calling it PMIS, Pediatric Multisystem Inflammatory Syndrome. And it basically identifies that all of the body systems or multiple body systems, lung, heart, lymphatic, many systems are showcasing great degrees of inflammation, skin being a big one. So conjunctivitis is a big indicator. That's a big symptom. Children will have a low grade fever, but they get tested, and sometimes 2 or 3 weeks later, this inflammatory state has compromised multiple systems, and that's when they go into the ER or ICU. So we now have a breakdown since they've identified this labeling. They all, pediatric hospitals, children's hospitals have identified, okay, of the COVID cases within kids, are the children, are they matching that particular criteria to label this as this, disease pattern? So they now have identified that there are 85, at minimum 85 cases of children who have this PMIS in hospital settings. 64 of the children are in New York City. They have 4 recorded cases in Boston at Boston Children's, 10 at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, 3 at Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, 3 at Nemours in Delaware, 3 at Ochsner Medical Center, which is in Louisiana, 1 in Seattle, 2 in DC, although there are 15 additional children in ICU under ventilation. I mean, it's heartbreaking as a parent. It's just, I feel for these parents. 15 of these children are in ICU under ventilation or some breathing process, and they still have to rule that out. So they're going through the medical chart and evaluating. And, these types of cases are where any of the cases that are in ICU, they're there for several weeks. And so, I don't know how familiar you guys are with that in your own family, and even the nature of what a medical record looks like, even though we have it's virtual. Now we have electronic medical records, but literally if we printed all that out, some of these cases, these files are going to be this thick of labs and, doctor's notes and radiology readings. And I mean, it's pretty comprehensive. So they have to go through all of that per case. And in some of the facilities, some of those cases haven't even been coded or gone through the medical record department. So that sometimes is a part of the delay. But we know 85 cases are showcasing this. One of the treatment processes or protocols that they're implementing is using IV immunoglobulin, and that is plasma-rich antibody infusions. That's about a 6 to 7 hour infusion, very similar to when a cancer patient either has a PICC line or IV, and it's infused, the plasma with these antibodies is infused, and that is helping the children. What they are seeing across the board, a standard point of similarity, is that there are coronary artery abnormalities. And what wasn't clear as I was reading through this is whether that is something that was there before, and maybe they were born with that. And a lot of us, are born with some heart not imbalances, but something that's kind of a little wonky, but we don't know it. I mean, I personally have had, a heart murmur diagnosed and then grown out of it. And, I've had patients that have had, in their 40s, they discovered they have a little hole in their heart, but they didn't know that. And so that's a big question. Was this in existence before, or does the virus and the inflammatory syndrome, does it cause that? Does it cause it? But they do know that these children are going to have chronic heart-related challenges after they recover, if and after they recover. So that I think is really, really important. The other thing is that what we don't know is how the perspective in Italy and UK. And so I have a feeling that we're going to learn more globally. But we just have to wait on the time of this. But I will keep everybody posted. And I want to give a quick shout out to Pat and Ron Wagner. They're our moderators here on YouTube. And we just want to give them lots of love. They had to put their little kitty down yesterday. And so I'm sending you guys lots of love. My heart's broken for you. And I just want you guys to know that, one, we value you and appreciate your moderating, and just send you lots of love, because I know this is a tough time after you have a little kitty that you love for 15, 16 years, and then they move to a different realm. So the memories last, and I just want you to focus on the happy times and lots of love. So thank you, Pat and Ron. Our thoughts and prayers are with you, and comment and give Pat and Ron lots of love. They really appreciate that. And again, we're a part of a community here that we built on a daily basis. And a lot of you have gotten to know Pat and Ron and each other. And so we're here as a collective supportive community, and you're getting lots of love over on Instagram. I'm seeing hearts, and you feel free to comment, and I'll read it out to Pat. Okay, so moving to a survey. I think this is really telling. I felt the need to write it down and comment to you all. So any of you ladies who are married or with partners and have kids, there's a survey that's come out that that women are taking on the greater share of the home responsibilities, the schooling responsibilities, and that when polled, women are feeling like the burden, a lot of it's falling on them. 66% of them, 66% of women felt that they were taking on the lion's share, whereas 41% of the men felt that way. And so there's a lot of discussion about role overload, and that creates feelings of emptiness. So just make sure, especially on Mother's Day, all of the moms take time out from the kids, take time out for you, rejuvenate, repower, recharge. That's what I plan on doing. And that's why I'm not going to go live to you all on Sunday. And I'm just really probably going to stay in bed all day and watch, some documentaries and chillax in bed and be treated like Cleopatra for one day. Hopefully they'll come and bring me food, but whatever. But I just put that out there because Mother's Day is around the corner. And the other thing too, I'll post after the fact. There are some really good ways to send love via, deliveries like flowers and things like that, but also save yourself some money. So I found some workarounds and some ways to save a lot of money on floral arrangements and the delivery of for those special mothers and women in our life that are like mothers or aunts and ladies that we love. So I can post those links and kind of a way for you guys to do that. I might even do an Instagram story later on about that, just kind of short and sweet. But definitely wanted to put that out there. Let's see. The Real Charlie Orange says, can you imagine this poll in the 1950s? But yeah, got to keep striving for 50-50 on responsibilities. Even said, the 50-50 does not exist. And, there's actually, I mom so hard. I don't know if you guys follow them. I went and saw them. This is just a quick deviation. So if you, on the replay, if you're not interested in this, fast forward like 3 months. So I went, almost 2 years ago with moms in the neighborhood to the I Mom So Hard concert. And it's two moms that they're really big on Facebook. They do tons of really funny videos, and they actually have a kind of small YouTube channel, but they did it was I Mom So Hard, but I Teach So Hard, or it was something about teachers and their appreciation of teachers. And it is hilarious. So if any of you I'll post the link to the YouTube video. If any of you are at home, men and women, you'll understand. They were talking about like Wi-Fi passwords and like the scheduling and Zoom and like all these different apps that you have to log into and the passwords and it is really, really funny. And then you fast forward to her. She's in her closet with a glass of wine, and clearly has probably had almost half of a bottle, and does like a wine drunk dialing to the teacher and expresses her gratitude. It's really funny. So if you need a laugh, which sometimes we do, humor releases oxytocin and gives us happy chemicals and keeps us balanced, because I think we all need a laugh in our lives, especially now, as there's more and more discussion about what's fall season going to look like. I put that out there. So, okay. So lots of love to Pat and Ron, and we totally love you guys. So hang in there, and we'll be thinking about all of you, you both, this weekend. And the last and final news tidbit I have is that the NFL, yesterday I reported that they had this whole meeting with the owners, and the league was really big about kind of keeping everything minimized in terms of the communication. Well, apparently that was because the owners and teams are rolling out their schedules. They are acting as if they're going to be having regular teams, the practices. And I know this because I, several years ago, had season tickets for the Bucks. And so I'm on their email list, and I'm still on their email list. But they rolled out this morning their whole entire season. And it was like, get tickets. And they had their practice schedule, the games, who they're playing, where they're playing, all that jazz. We haven't seen this in the collegiate world. I don't think we probably will. I think the collegiate world's has a little bit of a different responsibility. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I should take that back. I don't know. I can't imagine that we're going to see stands of people at football games in as early as August, but who knows? So that's my news for you all. Oh, you know what? I had just one little bit of news, and this literally, I've been searching for, news from the CDC, and I got this yesterday. I wanted to read it today. They just have, their weekly report, which is the MMWR, their morbidity mortality weekly report. Over the course of the last 3 weeks, it has been less and less informative. In the beginning, we were getting a lot of great information, pretty much like 2, 3, 4 times a week. We now are really, really getting slim details. This particular report is about COVID-19 in correctional institutions and the detention facilities. And California has the first case of juveniles, so minors, that tested positive with COVID. This just kind of assesses the aggregate data. I don't have any bar charts or anything like that, other than the kind of breakdown of the facilities. But staff members showcase. Let's see. The staff members showcase COVID-19 more than the detainees. So we know it's coming in via the professionals who are working in this setting. But they gave them just a little bit of guidance, like a few little bullet points about what to do in terms of, need to set up an emergency plan, how to space out and use, the medical facilities, how to isolate, and then the preventing introduction in terms of screening people coming in, either workers or the entrants is what they call the folks that are jailed in these facilities. So nothing significant to note in here other than it is in these places, and some places like up in Chicago are really quite overwhelmed and overrun, and the population is so great. So good morning, everybody. Let's see, LA County, haven't been tested yet, but I've been home forever. Oh gosh. Okay. So let's dig into some questions. I see we've got folks in California, like Los Angeles is finally getting the mass COVID test. My sister and husband finally got to do a COVID test yesterday in Hollywood. That's good. Oh, Pow, did you watch the show, the YouTube? I'm Mom So Hard. It is really, really funny. I'll share it also on my Facebook page. Usually I share, but I think I was laughing so hard I shared it to all my friends. So I even shared it to Brian's parents. I was like, you guys would love this. So let's dig into some questions that you guys have. I'm going to let you take some time to ask me some questions down below. And I've got your questions here that I'm going to answer from earlier. And while you guys are sending me questions, I want to highlight, I have a free download if you guys want to grab this. It turns out yesterday, YouTube censored and fully pulled my first coronavirus video where I highlight that I've got this checklist. So they had demonetized it. Then I appealed. They then monetized it, and then it got flagged and pulled. So I don't know what is going on. But there's definitely, I'm experiencing less censorship. But apparently that video specifically was censored. So you can grab this checklist in the description box below. Instagram, if you want this, DM me and I'll make sure. With Ella out, I'll be DMing you directly. She does a lot of my instant messages. So she helps me disseminate information. Okay. Morrison, Monica, should I ask my hairdresser to wear a face shield then? Absolutely, I would. And here's the thing. If you can get them and buy them and just bring them in and say, I'd like you to wear this, that might also be an option if they aren't going to be wearing that. I think it's best if you call and talk with the owner. I know a lot of companies and facilities, or not facilities, but like some of these small businesses, I'm getting emails already. And some are really detailed and others aren't. And they're like, oh, we're adhering to CDC guidelines. And like, I don't know what that means because there's such a broad scope that are they doing everything or some of them? And so I think it's best if you call. I know we had to get some flowers for I had to get some more vegetables and stuff. And so I called around and several of the nurseries are back to open and they're not doing any pickup. They're not doing any delivery. And I said, I'm not comfortable going into the store. I want contactless, touchless. And we actually found one a little bit of a drive. So we went and up, went up there. And then, I noticed that there are several employees that had masks on, but were not wearing them. They were down here. And one of the girls complained about it. And, my comment was, would you rather wear this mask out in this beautiful environment, or would you like to wear a mask in the hospital ICU room? And she's like, yeah, good point. And she pulled it up. So, there's just this, it's still something people are having to get used to this, and there are people who don't like it. And then there's all these different political and social kind of implications in terms of what their thoughts are on it. And they're bringing that into these environments. But at the end of the day, we have guidelines for a reason, for safety. And all of that has to go out the wayside for safety's sake. Okay, so I'm notating all your questions. Keep bringing them in. And then I'm going to answer these first. Okay. Charlie Orange, I know you're on here. Okay. So Charlie Orange asked, she said, good morning. I've been getting better sleep than I have been getting in years. Yay. About 7 to 8 hours, and don't get up as often as I used to, but I'm still tired. Like I feel not on and a bit slow. I had coffee yesterday and felt almost an instant jolt of aliveness, alertness, and creativity. It was great. Got a lot done. But later in the day, my inflammation around my heart and hips got so much worse. Been in agony ever since. Is there a way, or an herbal, etc., to get the good parts of the caffeine jolt and quickness without the side effects? Love watching you every morning. Okay, so thank you for watching. An excellent question. So one of the things, and I have to apologize, you guys, we've been outside a lot, and my allergies are really bad. Okay, two things. One, I'm glad that you're getting more sleep, and it might take you months to restore the adrenals. So just know that tired and fatigue and not feeling on can last several months as you're restoring and rejuvenating your adrenal glands. So for any of you who have had or have taken the cortisol adrenal test or have ordered it, it's either en route to you or you're waiting on the results. One of the things that we have to know is that the adrenal glands take a while to restore. And speaking of adrenals, I am drinking my Stress Adapt Stress Relief Tea in my little black kitty mug. So Ron and Pat, as a tribute to you guys, I thought about Wellington this morning and decided to drink my Stress Relief Tea out of his mug. So the adrenal glands take a while to restore. And so you have to be patient with them. And then as they get restoring, you'll feel a little bit better. But that caffeine jolt, that turns them on. And so what happens is, because you're restoring them, you just hit the gas. And so, yeah, you get a lot of energy, but then the aftermath of it is going to be the inflammation, because you hit the gas and you had more cortisol production. The good news is it's an indicator the adrenals are restoring and repairing. But as a switch, there's several things I would look at. There is a really good, let me write this down so I can post it to you. My tab down below. There is a mushroom coffee that is very adrenal supportive. And it has a little bit of the kind of natural caffeine, but it's very adrenal focused, but it's going to give you that kind of energy boost. The other thing is, if you do want something hot, green tea has caffeine. It's a lower level caffeine, but you won't have that central nervous system jolt. I don't know how much of that like aliveness and alertness you're going to get. I do feel when I drink green tea energy, but it's not the same as let me just clarify. I drink really heavy, hardcore, like Cuban coffee, but it's espresso. So like my jolt from caffeine is pretty intense because of the espresso. I like Cuban and Colombian coffee, really rich and dark. So depending on the type of coffee, and if it's espresso versus a milder brew of coffee, it can vary. But just know that the green tea is a much better option, and you still get a little caffeine. So if it's a caffeine that kind of energizes you, it won't have the same after effect where you go in that dive. And so the inflammation is really big because the cortisol production was targeted. Okay, so that's that first question. And I'm addressing these first because these folks messaged me earlier. So Smith Iron 704 asks, how can men increase testosterone naturally without going on TRT? So excellent question. There's really, and I have multiple videos on men's testosterone levels. There's several layers to testosterone in men. The first and most important is to manage estrogen levels in the body. And we do that by addressing your male hormones. So we look at all of the hormones, male-related reproductive hormones. We also should pull and run cortisol, a 4-panel cortisol with DHEA. That's a hormone that's also produced by the cortisol, the adrenal glands. And what we can find is if we can lower cortisol, so most of my men have some degree of high cortisol. A lot of times it's spiking at night, especially if they have any prostate challenges. That's really common. So they'll have the inflammation, the cortisol leads to greater inflammation. But what happens in the male body, the best way to preserve testosterone is to halt, to stop. There's an enzyme that can, under stress, so when we have higher than normal cortisol levels, there's an enzyme that then triggers the body to produce estrogen. And in the male body, and so it's different than women, but in men, the male body gets triggered by this high cortisol. And what happens is it takes testosterone. So it steals testosterone that's naturally manufactured, and then it converts it. It does a switch and it changes it to estrogen. So a lot of men that have low testosterone will actually have estrogen dominance. And it's simply because they have high cortisol hormone, and the stress, there's physical, mental, emotional, chemical stressors in the body. Those need to be addressed. So if we address all of those different stressors, we analyze the cortisol levels, we address the cortisol, and then we naturally support the male body in enhancing the underlying building blocks, like we build up vitamin D and some of the other hormones, then we can see a better balance of testosterone. I hope that makes sense for Smith Iron 704. And Jingle All the Way says, my adult son has ADD. He's easily angered and has bouts of depression. What would be best for him to take / control, or take to control / ease these symptoms or these conditions? So ADD in adults is a little different than ADD in children in terms of just the hormone sequencing. One of the things with ADD is that there will be an underlying degree of inflammation and an underlying degree of neurotransmitter imbalances. So the first step before we figure out what to take to control this, we need to assess where the levels are of the neurotransmitters. The neurotransmitters are these little pathways. They get signals from the adrenal glands. So, when I hear anger or depression, it's often going to be triggered by some adrenal imbalance. But that can also lead to other levels of deficiency or even high levels of certain neurotransmitters. So if we do a neurotransmitter test, which by the way, all of these are available on they're on my website. And so you can go to shop, and then there's the little drop-down menu, and you can go to tests. There's like test kits. Click in there and you have access to all the tests. All of these are at home. I've posted all of the easy, you can buy from us. We mail it to you. You mail it to the lab. The lab mails you the results, and then we can go over those. So that is something that needs to be assessed. The other thing is, depending on if the adult has had this even in childhood, like I see basketball fan, it can be an underlying degree of trauma. It could be an underlying degree of gut imbalances. So there's a lot of assessment. And again, as a naturopath, I look at the whole body. So I look at every system. I want to look at the gut. I want to see how is the digestive process working? What's the gut microbiota? What does that look like? How balanced is that? And so that I put that out there because I think that that's one of the most important things that we can do is to kind of balance the body by assessing where those levels are. Okay, I'm going to start taking questions. I'm going to go from YouTube back over to Instagram. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, let's see. Brynja 3, can I get the antivirus checklist? Yes, there's a link down in the description box below. So that's where you can get that. Let me go over into Instagram. Let's see, lots of good questions. Okay. Okay, Car 69Z. Have one not related to COVID. It's about doing Dong Quai red date tea. Does it cause bleeding internally? No, it should not. But the one thing with Dong Quai and red date tea is you do not want to take it when you are cycling. It is meant to help thin out the uterine lining. There are aspects. Angelica is Dong Quai. So Angelica does have potentially interference or contraindicators with certain pharmaceutical medications, which would be something you would consult with your pharmacist and your doctor to see if that is something that you can take. And just know Dong Quai is what we call Angelica here in America, or in, the kind of English language. But that is, I love that tea for folks that have any type of fibroids or have had to have DNCs or looking at ablations. But that is something you would not take. You would not take it while you're cycling. Okay, let's see here. Okay, Jenny from the block. Oh, hi, Jenny, you joined us. I have high potassium levels. Are there any herbs or supplements I should avoid? I would, for the most part, what I would be looking at would be any of the herbs. So this is what I find with potassium, and it, I'd have to know your levels and all that good stuff. And if it's being caused by medication or some other factor. But generally, like high potassium levels, sometimes that's a detox process, and sometimes we have to we need to balance some of the other minerals. What I would be cautious of, supplements that have like a multivitamin or a multimineral that might have potassium in it, that could definitely lead to it. Also be very aware of any type of celery. And some of the kelps can have potassium in them. Food-based potassium, I know, metabolizes a lot better, but I don't know the root cause of that. So that would be a factor I'd want to kind of assess a little bit further. Morrison Monica, what will help adrenals? I'm not sleeping good at all and hurting all over, joints, etc. Where do you buy that tea? Okay, so I'll link the tea for you. So my stress suppress. Okay, so I'll link that for you. Here's what I recommend. And you guys, I left all my links blank because I figured the Q&A, it'll lead what I put down. But this is what I recommend, the REM sleep. This is my best natural sleep aid. I used to have one that was awesome. And then there was an ingredient that the FDA pulled. It's so effective. That does happen, and it doesn't mean it's unsafe, but it was highly effective. So REM sleep is my alternative. And I'll give you a link to this. This is a gel pack, and you can squeeze this in water. You can I just open it up and take it. But it has a multitude of amino acids. It has herbs that are calming. It has balancing for any hormonal imbalances, temperature imbalances. But then it also has a sleep blend. So it will address neurotransmitter imbalances. It has GABA, it's 5-HTP. It has L-tryptophan. It also has L-theanine and some of the other amino acids we need to balance the sleep components. And then it has magnolia bark, which is really big at lowering cortisol. And so sleep is one of those things where there's a lot of factors at play. And if we don't know exactly why, like testing is a really big idea or good idea to assess further. But this addresses a lot of those without testing. So I'll make sure I include the REM sleep link. So if you just kind of come back, and I'll have that link for you. Okay, so let's see, questions. Monica Casey, how does one get tested to see if they have EBV? So Epstein-Barr virus is a blood test, and they will assess basically antibodies. You'll either see that you're in an active state or inactive. I can tell you when I was tested, I had it at least for 3 to 4 months before I got tested, and I was in an extremely active state, and they can tell there are two different types. So they'll tell you which one you're in. One is a shorter term, like 3 to 4 months, and the other could be about a year, year and a half. I had the latter, and it kicked my butt. And that's essentially what drove me into an office of she's one of my mentors. It drove me into an office for a doctor of Chinese medicine and an herbologist and an acupuncturist who I remember thinking, I want to do I actually said out loud, I want to do what you do. And that was the life-changing switch where I literally saw a whole new way of working, and also a whole new way of addressing health and wellness crises. And that was the beginning for me. So that test is a blood test. Monica Morris and Monica, I need to do that test. What's the test called? So the adrenal stress test kit is, and I don't have any, I just actually, oh my gosh, I have to tell you guys. So I had to order a whole bunch of new tests because we had a lot of test kit orders. And so they've sent it here to my house, and it got delayed. So I don't know if, you know how FEMA is like snagging stuff. I don't know if there was a delay because of there's a greater kind of assessment of the test kits that are being shipped around. But they finally arrived yesterday. So I'm back to shipping stuff out. So I had like a 2-day delay on some of the kits that I literally ran low on. So the adrenal stress test kit is the kit to address the adrenal glands. It's a 4-panel cortisol. So 4-panel meaning there's 4 saliva vials. You do a spit test all in the same day, morning, right around when you wake up, lunch, dinner, and right before bed, normal schedule. And then you also, in that, one of the saliva vials will assess your DHEA levels, which is a hormone produced by the adrenal glands. So that is that test kit. Other ones, I have a female hormone, a comprehensive female hormone. I can test all the thyroid hormones, even TPO antibodies. So we can evaluate if you have Hashimoto's, which is really big. And then we have a sleep one. We have infertility. We have neurotransmitter testing. We have blood spot, like I can do a vitamin D test for you, super easy. So we can get really specific and individual based on the different tests, but they're all test kits, and they're all online on my website. Let's see here. Royce Nair, I have an itching and pinching sensation in my ears and often irritation. Feel a slight bleed from the nose into my mouth. The itching and pinching. So itching sensation can be an assortment of things. It can indicate yeast or candida in the ear. It can also be indicative, depending on if there's a lot of wax buildup. Sometimes people actually will have fungus inside the ear. And candida is part of the kind of bacterial imbalance in the ear. If it's really intense itching and accompanied with some of the bleeding, you might have sinus irritation, and you might have some eustachian tube fluid that is clogging up and maybe potentially putting pressure on the eardrum. That can sometimes cause a little bit of that pinching sensation. But I would definitely look at doing saline sprays. So saline spray for sure in the nose, just to help kind of minimize some of the irritation. I have several, actually, I think I have 5 or 6 videos on draining the ears and getting rid of clogging and, helping pop the ears. I show techniques. Show you how to do the draining, the lymphatic draining. So check out those videos. That's probably your best source for that. Let's see, Marie Last 5. The mix of mushrooms are great. Okay. Yeah. Love it. Okay. Let's see. Sage 1711. My daughter was born with herpes simplex dermatitis and aspiration meconium, has ADHD and mood problems. What should she take? So the big question I would have is, was she born vaginally? And if she was, well, aspiration, that could vary. So I'd want to know more about the labor process. So that would be one. The other thing for children, definitely good omega fish oils, ADD and ADHD and any mood problems, just like with adults, but particularly children their brains are still growing, and we need to supply them with DHA, high levels of DHA. The other thing is make sure she has all the right levels of vitamin D. So you might want to test her vitamin D levels. And then there is with herpes. So there's online, I can send you this. I love this. This is the homeopathic, the herpes virus 6 nosode. This will eradicate any type of herpes simplex. So shingles, the different herpes simplexes, it's pox virus in its relation, and even some of the rashes that occur from Epstein-Barr virus, which is very common. This can eradicate. So DM me and I'll send you the link. This is in my online store, Full Script. It's 10% off everything in that. Okay, so let's see, more questions. Angie C, daughter had polyp surgery and nose and has another one growing back. Then about a year, uses Exfoliator a few times a week. The one that has oregano, thin castor oil pack on nose will work. So I would have her using Exfoliator daily. What I would do is include a net. I don't know how your daughter is, depending on her age, but I would have her do saline rinses. And then in the saline rinse, there is I'll put this down for you. There's something called Neti Wash. And it's Himalayan Institute has the neti pots, but they also have this amazing herbal liquid. It's a little tincture. You can add like 10 drops, no more than that. 10 drops to a neti pot so neti pot, you neti pot one side. So you have a total of 2 pots in a whole process. I would add those drops because there are things like yellow dock and burdock and echinacea, golden seal, really powerful herbs that are very healing for polyps. But a polyp is definitely a sign of irritation and inflammation. I would also employ the sinus draining. And the question with like polyp surgeries or any sinus surgeries, a lot of times they don't always test for candida. I would make sure and look at her medical records to see if there was any candida in a swab, because that's going to be something we also need to heal within the gut. Okay, so let's see here. Any suggestions for probiotics for children? Yes, they're depending on the age, like 2 and younger, I usually do powders and mix in with an applesauce or, a nut yogurt. With Gabriel, we alternate, and we started to add some gummies because it's fun for him and it makes taking supplementation a lot easier. He will tell Brian like, no, mommy has me take this at night. And, Brian screws up his options. Gabriel knows, and he's 4.5. So I've employed some of the gummies plus the powerful ones. And now at 4 is when we made a switch to where he can choose some of the more powerful. He has one that I think is a 25 or 30 strain chew tab, and I want to say it's a Garden of Life, the doctor's formula. But I love that because it's very potent in just a really good combination of supplements. And then Therabiotic has children's ones. Those you can find in my Full Script store. Therabiotic is the brand. They're really great. And depending on what's going on with children, I sometimes will open up the capsules. Like I highlighted this. I have this here as an example, but it's not uncommon for you can open these capsules and you can mix, in things for kids. You might not give them a full dosage, but I used to mix that in. And he has no digestive issues at all. The kid is extremely regular, and is very routinized with what he takes as supplements. So I hope that helps. Let's see. Anga, Friday came so fast. Seriously. These days I just forget what day it is. Totally. I hear ya. Okay, let's see. And Angelina, you are a part of my morning routine. I get 8-ish hours of sleep and I'm still tired and sluggish through the day. Is there anything natural wise herbs, etc., I can take that can help with energy. So that sluggish feeling, even feeling very similar to Charlie Orange and her question, is adrenal related. And so the big thing is we need to be gentle with ourselves and kind to the fact that we are all under pandemic stress. And this is survival at its greatest. So every survival aspect, we're just getting bombarded. So I'm going to share with you a few of the things that I take. So if some of the stress and sluggishness is from emotions, which I feel like I've been experiencing that a little bit more, I have added in the adrenal drops by Professional Formulas. This is homeopathic. So this is a homeopathic, and I'll tell you what it says. It's for indications like or temporary relief of lethargy, lack of energy, sadness, anxiousness, or decreased ability to handle stress. So give me a little hands up if you feel like check, that's me, because I can totally relate to that. And it has an assortment of homeopathics. So I like homeopathy as another layer. So I will use, food first, herbs. I will use, if we need glandulars, depending on like an adrenal testing, I'll use homeopathy. And then for a lot of the kind of fatigue and sluggish, if it's emotional related, then I'll also employ the Bach flowers. And Bach flowers are simply flower essence. And it's been articulated in a liquid. And you literally just put this in your mouth. And I just kind of hold it under my tongue. I let it dissolve. And this yellow bottle, I have everything. I have the spray. We're out of the pastels. I have these on order. These are little suck-ons. Gabriel loves these. These are another one of, he loves these. But like, this is my Teflon, and I've broken it out. Like usually I feel like I'm all good, but right now this is in my pocket. I also am trying to plant some of the flowers here in my garden. So I'm going to have a medicinal part of the garden as well. And I'm actually working on putting together 2 or 3 videos about my gardening process. So if you guys are interested in gardening or, picking up some of that stuff, that will go out, not on a live, but it'll be in a regular package video. Let's see, more questions. Okay, so Jenny from I had to stop drinking so much tea during the day, pulsating sensations, not able to sleep for a few days in a row. Yeah, so one of the things that I do want to caution any of you. So, I'm drinking my stress adapt tea. What's in this? And this for all of you who are feeling sluggish, tired, run down, your morning, so before 2 p.m., you want to have at least one of these tea bags. It's a little round tea bag. Let's see, YouTube. I get closer, YouTube can see it. See that little round tea bag? And Instagram, I have to go lower for you guys. Okay, so that little round tea bag, and it's got a little red hue to it. There's hibiscus in it, but it has Tulsi, which is holy basil. Holy basil has no relation to like basil. It's a totally different type of plant. But Tulsi and rhodiola, these 2 items that are in here are high potency adaptogenic herbs. So when you are looking for herbs that give you energy, adaptogens are the way to go. My favorite is rhodiola. And this has about 1,500 milligrams of the Tulsi and rhodiola in combo. And it tastes great. I add just a little local honey. And it gives like a little floral kind of flavor. I love hibiscus tea. Like I could sustain myself on hibiscus tea. I love that stuff. But for sure, rhodiola, you don't want to take that later in the day because it can energize you. It's that powerful. So just be aware of the timing. I don't think I clarified that, so my apologies on that. Okay, Instagram, you guys are going to go off in a minute, and I'm going to answer one last question here, and then I'll come back. So save your questions and ask me again when we come back on the replay. In Harmony Gal, my husband has had his kidney function tested by his urologist and was told one kidney has only 20% function, but the doctor gave him no therapy for it. Is there something he can do to boost his kidney function? So the big question is, what's the source? Why is it only 20%? Is it related to diabetes? If it isn't, is it related to injury? It's not uncommon for a lot of men, particularly, to have post-related injuries. So like if he was a rugby player, a football player, even soccer, karate, getting kicked to the area, the kidneys can cause injury. Some people, I've had patients that didn't realize they were only born with one kidney. Had no idea for like 55 years. All right, Instagram, come back and I'll finish answering this question. Okay. Let's see. Let me save that. I hate it when it only lets me talk for an hour and then I have to come back. So hold on, you guys. That's a really, really good question too. Okay, let's go back. Let me do live. Boop. We're going live. Hi, Instagram. Welcome back. Happy Friday. This is our live Q&A chat with Dr. Melisa Gallagher. I'm Dr. Melisa. And I was just answering a question from, I think, In Harmony Gal about her husband being tested, his kidney function being tested. Oh, she's back. Okay. So kidney function, husband tested 20% on one kidney. And my question is, what's the source of some of the dysfunction, injury? The other thing too is sometimes spinal alignment and kind of the energy, the electric source from the spine. It's not uncommon for scoliosis to have a role, depending on the scoliosis and S curve, to have an impact on the kidney. So as far as kidney function, there are a lot of different things that I recommend. There are some kidney complexes, and I'll include one that I really love. But I also love to really support the kidneys with something called Chanca piedra. And it's an herb. You're going to find it as a liquid tincture in my favorites herb farm. It's known as stonebreaker herb, but it's very pro-supportive of the kidneys. So the other part with the kidneys is, so probably an injury. Okay, yeah, totally common. Depending on the location too. So the kidneys, they're like a little, the kidney bean is named after, what the kidneys look like. So there can be different locations of the kidneys, and each of those locations have certain kind of functionality. So, I'd want to look at more things like how is it affecting his blood pressure, his vascular function? Did they do a CT scan and address the arterial flow out of the kidneys? I'm sure they probably had some function there. Is there any type of arteriosclerosis that we're dealing with? And then nerve infringement or impingement of the nerves can play a role. So it's multi-layered what my approach would be to get a kidney functioning. The other thing too is in this case, I would love to deploy acupuncture. Acupuncture can balance. There's definitely kidney spleen related connection, kidney lung. And so there's going to be balancing between all of those. And acupuncture can best do that. And then they use a lot of herbs. So, they actually look at his tongue and see, the kidneys are not just about detoxification, but there's a lot of other systems that rely on that functionality to be optimized. But here's the other thing I do know. I do know in working with a lot of folks that I've discovered, like before we cut off on Instagram, I was talking about how I've had multiple patients discover that they had only one kidney. I mean, we literally run cortisol tests and like, there's something off here. And then they see, a physician, they get scans and like they're missing a kidney. The other kidney will take over. And so, this is the beauty of the human body. We do know people donate a kidney. And so you can function off of 100% functional kidney and a 20% kidney. But there may be some need to heal. There also might be some scar tissue at play. I've worked with folks that have had polycystic kidney disease. So there can be cysts, a whole bunch of cysts. So there's a lot of variance there. I hope that was helpful. I didn't give you a specific answer, but everybody's body's different. But you always want to evaluate, or as a naturopath, what we do is we look at the root cause. So what was the cause? How can we address some of those factors? An injury, scarring. We definitely want to deal with scarring because that alone could very much be part of the infringement of the functionality. Okay, so Aura, you need help to cure leukorrhea, i.e. transparent white discharge in females, no foul smell. It's very watery, thin, transparent discharge. We're waiting to hear from you. So it depends on when that occurs in the cycle for women. And I'm going to get graphic because this is the question. For women, discharge is very common and it's actually a sign of a healthy state. I'm going to tell you guys something, especially you ladies. I'm going to tell you something that most of the time you're not going to hear from your OBGYN. Our uteruses are part of our detox process. And it's just like, the lungs are part of the detox, the skin is detox, the digestive process is detox. Our discharge for females from the uterine, the uterus and the vaginal lining, the vaginal canal, is indicative of our detox process. And so, a certain degree of discharge is common and is to be expected. And so it depends. So, if it's white and clear, depending on the time, it could be indicative of, ovulation. It could be indicative of the pre-ovulation, the post-ovulation. So those are really detailed specifics we get into, and I need to know where that's happening in the time frame of your cycle. But it can also tell us a lot about your hormone levels. It can tell us about your bacterial levels. The other thing too is I also look at like what type of undies are you wearing? Are you wearing cotton breathable undies, or are you wearing synthetic? Are you washing your undies in fragrance or fragrance-free cleaning? Are you using those cleaning agents? Those all play into discharge levels. And odor is a big factor. The kind of stickiness or non-stickiness, we can get really specific, but it's hard to know specifically to answer that question. Okay. Very helpful. Okay. So Epstein-Barr, I actually addressed that already. So I'd have you watch the first one. So Jacques Priez, my daughter had Epstein-Barr when she was 16. She was paralyzed from the neck down, had to learn how to walk again. It took her more than a year to feel better. Fatigue was massive. So I did not have that extensive of an experience, but I was down in bed for 3 days, could not move, and was really sick. That is very comprehensive, but the major thing that I found helpful was rhodiola. But there's just an intense amount of cellular boosting and bolstering of the immune system that has to occur, especially when it's that intense. And I would also want to know what other viruses. You can have multiple viruses, and Epstein-Barr can be exacerbated by other viral invasions, and it also puts you at a weaker state where you can have other ones. So I have folks that will test positive for Guillain-Barré. They will test positive for other related conditions, and Candida is a big factor. Okay, so let's see here. Emmy, little kitty cat. Okay, so let's see here. Pat's sister was born with one kidney, and the other looked like a clump of grapes. Yeah. My nose is drippy 24/7. So this is Kathleen Hathaway. No real reactions to allergy tests. Very inflaming to the inside of my nose. Any thoughts? Candida, maybe. I don't know if they did a Candida test, but I would do saline sprays, saline washes, and then start to assess maybe food-related allergies. A lot of times we don't really even connect the sinus impact of food-based allergies. It's best to keep like a food journal. Like I have my little journal here. I give this to a lot of my patients, and I have them just write out, like day one, and they'll write out, foods that they ate and reactions for everything. And that's a good way to kind of zero in, because it might be food-based. The other thing too is sometimes if we're having GERD, we can even have that go up, and it can cause inflammation in the sinuses. Okay, let's see here. Is taking probiotics helpful to cure appendicitis? It can be, absolutely. Depending on what type of bacteria we're dealing with, it can. I actually love to add inulin fiber to the diet and really enhance the fiber intake to get things moving. A lot of times there's a degree, when we think about an appendicitis, it's a pus-filled appendix. And it becomes inflamed, and we'll see that rupture. So one of the things we want to do is we want to keep the digestion moving. So make sure you're getting right levels of magnesium, high fiber content. When I say high, you want to work up to, for the course of 2 or 3 weeks, up to 35 to 40 grams of fiber a day, with dandelion tea to get the bile moving. Milk thistle gets the bile. Bile is very healing. A lot of times the color of our bowel movement would tell us if we're lacking in the bile. If it's not a dark brown, and when I say dark brown, like the color of this bottle, and it's a lighter brown, like the color of my bracelet, that is lacking bile. So if you have a bowel movement that's a darker brown, you know that has more bile. If it's lacking, we need more bile. So the liver is part of that function. So there's a lot of different things that play digestively that we want to get moving and processing. Okay, so let's see here. Is dandelion leaf tea or dandelion root tea more potent for liver support? I actually like the root better, but the whole entire plant is helpful. So all parts of dandelion will invigorate bile production. It's just more heavily concentrated in the root. And I'm actually, I had some chats with folks earlier. I am growing a medicinal. I'm actually sowing medicinal herbs. These are you can't buy these, and especially now we're not going anywhere. So I'm doing a lot of seeds, and I'm growing dandelion by seed. So that's pretty exciting. Oh, we have a $5 super chat. Who was that? Let's see. Let me scroll down. Peter, thank you, Peter at Blundell. I am so grateful. Super chats totally make my day. Thank you. That totally supports our channel, the super chats. I really appreciate that. Okay, so let's see. Rhodiola, Rhodiola is how you spell it. Rhodiola. Will I give more tips on uterine fibroids and polyps? I'm already drinking the Dun Quai tea. I actually have several videos on that. Some of my early, horrible videos of 2014 have that because that was something I was dealing with. Ironically, it was thyroid imbalance and stress. So stress begets thyroid imbalance, and the liver, it gets all whacked out because you end up not producing the right amount of T3 or T4, the reverse and uptake of those hormones. So I would do a full panel, have your clinician evaluate your thyroid levels plus your female reproductive hormone. It's buffering a little bit, including your luteinizing hormone. That's really, really key. And castor oil packing for sure. That stuff is good stuff. I actually had the OBGYN that I was working with. She wanted to, when I had a polyp and a fibroid, she wanted to do a surgery. I was like, no way. I'll heal my body. And the irony is that the date that she had set, was 3 weeks before we got pregnant with Gabriel. And so the funny part is that you can heal your body and you don't have to have surgery. You don't have to have these barbaric surgeries. And in fact, that type of surgery, I wouldn't have been able to become pregnant with Gabriel. He wouldn't exist. So I'm so glad that I employed a lot of practices to heal our body or my body. I can't have caffeine because of heart issues. Will rhodiola bother me? Generally, no, but test it out. Everybody's reaction to things are different. And even herbs are just as powerful and potent as, caffeine. And it doesn't have caffeine. I will say it doesn't have caffeine in it, but see how you do. Sheila, is it okay to take moringa if you have Hashimoto's? I bought the tea in 400 milligram capsules, but then I heard that moringa can unregulate the thyroid. I have not seen any clinical research. I'll have to look into that a little bit further, but I know that it is very anti-inflammatory, and as an antioxidant, it should be very helpful at managing some of the cellular changes of the thyroid gland. We get a lot of swelling with Hashimoto's, depending on the TPO, the thyroid paradoxase, those levels, the antibody levels. It can be very damaging when the body's attacking. So the moringa should help lower the inflammatory state of the thyroid. Beverly, her husband just found out he has only one kidney at 48. Yeah, who would think? It totally happens. And, a lot of times we don't know stuff until we start searching for things. But, ignorance is bliss in many cases. Although when we start to see things melting down or we have imbalance, that's when we start to discover things that we didn't know was in existence. Alexi, my sister has interstitial cystitis and has used her diet to control it. It was a very difficult process of an elimination diet. She can't eat ginger or hot spices or citrus. Try that. Oh, is somebody dealing? I think I missed somebody who's dealing with that. Interstitial cystitis is a bacterial-oriented inflammatory state of both the internal lining of the bladder and the external lining. And one of the things that I find, it just creeps me out. One of the big things is if women are catheterized for surgeries, pregnancy, like delivery related, cesarean section related catheterizations of the bladder, that tends to kick it off for a lot of women. And so it's an introduction of bacteria that should not be there, and it just plagues the bladder. It can be healed, but a lot of times food will trigger it. The oxalates will trigger it big time. Let's see. Wait, what? Whitney? I don't know what Whitney heard. Okay, Guillain-Barré. Guillain-Barré was part of it. Yep, very common. Let's see. Reiki healing vibes to you and your family. See you tomorrow. Okay. Okay. So let's see. I've got more questions and then I'll wrap up. I'll do 3 more questions and then I've got to run and do homeschool fabulousness. We made moon sand this week. And so Gabriel threw all sorts of stuff in it. So we have to make some more. Okay. Yoli Curls. Hi. Oh, it's been a while. My husband is taking radiation after prostate removal. Doctor says that he needed to have his hormone shots for the next 2 or 3 years. Are they safe? Are there other options? Did they fully remove his prostate and, or do they remove partial? And then radiation, how many weeks of radiation would be my question. And then the question is what type of hormone shots? A lot of times they will also employ medication that lowers some of the estrogen receptivity. So there's a lot of questions I have with that, but do work closely with the oncologist, but I would also have him in, not right now, but when it's safe to do so, I'd have him doing acupuncture. All right, let's see here. Feel free to ask me questions. Okay, so is Tracy, are there supplements that you can take? Hold on, I lost it. Let's see. Oh, I got another super chat. Thanks, Peter, for the $3. I am so grateful. Okay, Tracy, are there supplements you can suggest that will help balance hormones through perimenopause? I deal with autoimmune issues and chronic pain already. The hormones don't help. Okay, I love Ephisoy, and I'll type in the name of it. We can grab it on Amazon. Ephisoy is fantastic for menopause. And it has maca, which is stress reducing. Maca is an adaptogen. Love that. And it will reduce inflammation. It will reduce swelling, water retention, which can deal with some of the pain. It also has a fermented, an Asian soy. So it's not American industrialized GMO soy. It has an Asian soy that is, they isolate a particular extract called, what is it called? It's a particular extract and it's called, I'm drawing a blank. But the extract itself is balancing and is what helps women in Japan particularly have better balanced menstrual cycles and go through menopause without symptoms. It's very, very powerful. It's Aglamax. Aglamax is the extract that is extracted. And then it has DIM, which is very powerful. So I would go Ephisoy. And I have a lot of women who love it. Peter says, just passing through. I'm busy setting up my first ever website, but still support this channel. Oh, thanks, Peter. I am so grateful. Okay, so, we've got another super chat. Oh, and an emoji. Yay! Tracy315, $9.99. Yoo-hoo! Thank you. Super chats. Oh, what a great Friday gift. Thank you. And I love the cute little bouncy thank you. Those are fun. Sheila, thank you, Melissa. I heard moringa will suppress the thyroid, so I'm afraid to take it now. Okay, let's see here. I am a breast cancer survivor, Karen. After menopause, one breast seems to have changed and gotten larger than the other. Nothing was discovered after mammogram. What can help? I definitely love, I don't know if you're a part of my my breast course, my booby care course, but it's very common for the other breast to, the receptors. So just like when we have one kidney, the other kidney takes over. Sometimes we see that with the breast. So the receptivity of estrogen, progesterone, the thyroid receptors get invigorated. The other thing too is there may be a factor with the surgery. You might still be dealing with swelling if there was surgery or radiation. So I would attribute that to a multitude of things. It's probably post-treatment trauma, if you will. But definitely follow a lot of my lymphatic draining efforts. And I would definitely pick up Lymph Stim from my Full Script store. That stuff's fantastic. Okay, let's see. One more question on each, and then I've got to run. What would you recommend for hot flashes? Effisoy. I would recommend Effisoy, EFFISOY. That's the product I was recommending. Helps with perimenopause, hot flashes, hormone imbalance, stress-related hormone imbalances that you can grab on Amazon. It's so wonderful. Okay, one more question. And I hear my little munchkin coming down. Okay, Steph 23. What is the difference between the two products, Healthy Cell Pro AM and PM and Healthy Cell AM PM? So the Pro, that's a good question. So the Pro actually has, June, a $20 super chat. Oh, thank you. First time viewer passing by, informative Q&A session. Good work. Thank you, June 12, 1776. I'm so grateful. You guys have totally made my day. So the difference between the Pro Healthy Cell, so this is, I'll include links to the Healthy Cell. I'll just include the whole entire website link, but you can get the sleep there. You can get, they have a gel pack multivitamin. This is their anti-aging super power punch. The difference between the Pro is that the Pro has cellular rejuvenative elements to address the stem cells, the telomeres, and the DNA recovery. So what you're going to find some differences there in that, some of the antioxidant blends will be different. But they do break down, like they break down on the website, the big difference. But that's really the big key, is you have less of that kind of stem cell DNA repair. The Pro has that. The AM, PM, the Healthy Cell, just the regular one, doesn't. So it's just a 5 to 10 different ingredients, and that's it. Okay, so one more question. Let's see here. So Sheila says, is there anything we can take to reduce breast size? Yes. So Effisoy is a big one because it has the properties to balance the breast tissue. I love Happy Breast Balm. We sell that in my online clinic, in the clinic. And so I have Full Script as my supplement store. And then my online clinic is where we have the test, and Happy Breast Balm would be something I would use topically. And then also castor oil packing is very powerful. That I detail all of that in my breast course. As well, we do have women who drop, 1.5, 2 cup sizes, depending on the amount of fluid and the inflammation in the breast itself. As we get rid of fibroids and the density of the breast, we actually have healthier breast tissue, better process of the apoptosis. We actually have breast cells every month as we're cycling. We have breast cells come to life. They expand into cells, and then when we don't get pregnant, there's the cell die-off and apoptosis, and that becomes a toxicity issue because those cells don't move out easily, and then that accumulation ends up creating fibroids and cysts and denser breast tissue. And so we can address that by using topical. We can move the lymphatics, and then herbs. Love Effisoy. Okay, friends, one more question on YouTube, and then I have got to run. Let's see here. What kind of questions can we ask? Well, we're at the end of it, but all health-related questions. Dr. Melisa, what can I take to get rid of fibroids? I don't want surgery. So I actually have a few videos on that specific. So I would definitely watch those. But a lot of it has to do with evaluating your thyroid levels, your underlying female hormone levels, and stress, and then balancing micronutrient imbalances. So there's a lot at play. But when you do balance that, you get more fortified in the micronutrients, and you're balancing and supporting the liver and detoxification, but also the process and synthesis of thyroid hormones. You actually see a decrease in the imbalances in the buildup of the uterine lining. So, okay, friends, we're at almost an hour and a half. So I have to run, but do catch up with me later today. I'm actually hoping to do a little bit more editing. I have a lot of editing in front of me, but I'm going to be posting more edited videos. I know a lot of people are missing that. So I'm going to try and balance keeping the lives and also doing some of the editing. It's just a little bit challenging, but I'm slogging away through it. And today might be a long related video. So it's either that or my Aldi haul. I can't figure out which one's going to get edited first, but stay tuned for that. So thanks, friends, for tuning in. And thank you for all of you who are my super chatters, June and Tracy, and then Peter. Thank you so much. That totally supports our channel. It helps me bring the live content to you. So I'm grateful. And Instagram, stay tuned for stories. I'm going to be posting some more info about my garden. I got some stuff. So, and Maria, oh, thank you. A $10 super chat. Thank you. Thank you. I was so grateful. You guys are so amazing. You've made my day. So happy Friday to everybody. And stay tuned. Tomorrow we'll be live. Sunday we won't be, but Saturday I'll be bringing in Facebook. So I've got my little Facebook set up. So they'll pop up and be a part of our channel experience, our live show. All right, friends. Thanks, Instagram. Tune in later. Bye. Thanks, YouTube. Thank you so much for all of you who provided these super chats. I have a little bug in here. I'm so grateful. Really, really, from the bottom of my heart, I'm grateful. And I love seeing that. It completely is supportive to my efforts here. And I'm grateful for you all participating, tuning in, giving me a thumbs up, and hitting the share button, and just being who you are. So stay well, stay safe, and I will talk to you tomorrow, 9 a.m. See you then, you guys. Have a great day. Bye, everybody. And thanks, Ron and Pat. Happy Friday.